He attended an alien wedding as a guest, married the king's disabled blind daughter. King is happy * Captain Marcus. Chen stepped out of his transport ship and onto the crystal landing platform of Velor. The entire world seemed to glow with soft blue light. Tall crystal towers reached toward the purple sky like frozen lightning. Marcus had visited many alien worlds during his years as a diplomat, but nothing had prepared him for this beautiful sight. "Welcome to Velor, Captain Chen," said Ambassador Crixtel, Velthori representative who had come to greet him. The alien's skin flickered with patterns of golden light as he spoke. Marcus watched the lights dance across the being's pale blue skin and felt grateful for the neural translator device behind his ear. "Thank you for having me," Marcus replied, bowing slightly as he had been taught. "I'm honored to attend Prince Zareth's wedding." The ambassador's skin patterns shifted to what Marcus's translator told him was pleasure. "King Morden is very excited to have a human representative at this celebration. Come, we must prepare you for the ceremonies." As they walked through the crystal corridors of the palace, Marcus marveled at how the Velthari moved. Their communication was like watching a living light show. Groups of aliens would gather in circles, their skin patterns flashing in complex sequences. It was their language, Marcus knew, but it looked like art to his human eyes. "The wedding will last for 7 days," Ambassador Crixtel explained as they walked. "Each day has different ceremonies. Today is the day of introductions, where all guests meet the royal family." Marcus nodded, though he was starting to feel nervous. His translator could help him understand their words, but the light language was much more complex. He worried about making mistakes or offending someone important. They entered a vast hall made entirely of clear crystal. Hundreds of Velthari filled the space, their skin patterns creating a sea of moving lights. Musicians played instruments that sounded like singing crystals, and the air smelled of sweet flowers that Marcus had never encountered before. "There is King Morden," the ambassador said, pointing to a tall figure near the center of the hall. The king's skin patterns were more complex than any Marcus had seen. With gold and silver lights mixing with the usual blue and green, Marcus was led through the crowd toward the king. Along the way, he noticed something strange. In one corner of the hall, sitting alone on a crystal chair, was a young Velthari female. Unlike everyone else, her skin showed no light patterns at all. She sat very still, her head turned slightly as if listening carefully to something. "Who is that?" Marcus asked quietly. The ambassador's lights dimmed slightly. "That is Princess Loraneth, the king's younger daughter. She cannot see the light patterns that we use to speak. In your human terms, she is blind." Marcus felt a sudden sadness. In a society where communication was visual, being blind would be like being unable to speak. "Does she have other ways to communicate?" "She has a translator device like yours that changes our light speech to sound," the ambassador said. "But most of our people forget to use it. They speak in lights without thinking." Before Marcus could ask more questions, they reached the king. King Morden was even more impressive up close. He was taller than most Velthari, and his skin patterns moved with the confidence of someone used to command. Marcus said, bowing deeply. "I am Captain Marcus Chen of the Terran Diplomatic Corps. Thank you for inviting me to this celebration." The king's pattern shifted to what Marcus's translator indicated was warm welcome. "Captain Chen, we are honored to have a human guest. Your people are famous throughout the galaxy for your adaptability." "We try our best, Your Majesty," Marcus replied with a smile. "Good. You will need that adaptability here. Our customs may seem strange to you." The king's patterns flickered with amusement. "Tell me, what do you think of our world so far?" Marcus looked around the crystal hall at the flowing lights and the beautiful music. "It is more beautiful than I imagined. Your people's light language is amazing to watch." "You see it as art?" King asked, his patterns showing surprise. "Yes, sir, like a dance of lights telling stories." King Morda's patterns brightened considerably. "How interesting. Most aliens find our communication confusing or difficult to follow. You see beauty in it." Their conversation was interrupted by a commotion near the entrance. Prince Zareth had arrived with his bride-to-be, Princess Selmira, from a neighboring world. The couple was surrounded by well-wishers, their skin patterns creating a dazzling display of celebration. Marcus watched the scene with interest, but His eyes kept drifting back to the lonely figure of Princess Lyraneth. She was still sitting alone, and he could see that she was listening intently to the sounds around her. Her head would tilt slightly toward different conversations, and sometimes she would smile at something she heard. "Excuse me, Your Majesty," Marcus said. "I would like to meet Princess Lyraneth, if that would be appropriate." The king's pattern stilled for a moment, then shifted to what looked like surprise mixed with pleasure. "Of course, Captain. Though, I warn you, she is different from other Veltheri." "Different can be good," Marcus replied. As Marcus approached the princess, he noticed that she sensed his presence before he spoke. Her head turned toward him, and he could see that her eyes were a pale silver color, quite different from the bright blue of other Velthari. "Princess Lyraneth," he said aloud, speaking clearly so her translator would pick up his words. "I am Captain Marcus Chin. I hope it is not rude of me to approach you." The princess's face lit up with surprise and delight. "Captain Chen, a human. Please, sit with me. I have heard so much about your people." Marcus sat in the crystal chair beside her. "I hope what you heard was good." "Oh yes," she said, her voice filled with excitement. "I have been studying human culture for years. Your people communicate with sounds and words, like I do with my translator. Most of my people forget that not everyone can see their light patterns." "I noticed that," Marcus said gently. "It must be difficult sometimes." "Sometimes," she admitted. "But I have learned to listen in ways that my people cannot. I can hear the music of the crystals in the palace walls, can tell when someone is happy or sad by the way they breathe. I can feel the vibrations of footsteps and know who is approaching." Marcus was fascinated. "So you experience the world differently, but not less than others." "Exactly." Princess Lyraneth's face brightened. "You understand? Most people think that because I cannot see light patterns, I am somehow incomplete. But I hear and feel things that they miss entirely." "Would you like me to describe what I see?" Marcus offered. "The light patterns, the colors, the way people move? Would you really do that?" she asked, her voice filled with wonder. "Of course," Marcus said. "Right now your father is speaking with the prince and his bride. His skin patterns are showing great joy. They look like golden fireworks spreading across blue water." Princess Lyraneth laughed, a sound like crystal bells. "I can hear his happiness in his voice, but your description makes me see it in a new way." As the evening continued, Marcus found himself drawn into long conversations with the princess. She was intelligent, curious, and had a unique perspective on everything around her. When other guests approached, they would often speak only in light patterns, forgetting that she could not see them. Marcus began to gently remind them to use their voices so the princess could join the conversation. "Oh, you're very kind," she said to him during a quiet moment. "Most people are polite, but they do not think to include me in their discussions." "Their loss," Marcus replied. "You have more interesting things to say than most of the people I have met tonight." First day of celebrations came to an end. Marcus realized that he was looking forward to the next 6 days more than he had expected. Not just because of the fascinating alien culture, but because he would have more opportunities to talk with Princess Lyraneth. The king approached them as the guests began to leave. "Captain Chen, I see you have been keeping my daughter company." "She has been keeping me company, Your Majesty," Marcus replied. "I've learned more about Veltheri culture from her than from anyone else tonight." King Morden's patterns showed surprise, and then something that looked like deep pleasure. "Is that so? How interesting. Lyraneth, what do you think of our human guest?" "I think he sees the world in a way that makes it more beautiful," the princess replied. "He describes things not just as they are, but as they could be." The king's patterns grew brighter. "How very ... human of him. Captain, I hope you will join us for all the celebrations. I think this wedding will be more interesting than any of us expected." As Marcus returned to his guest quarters that night, he found himself thinking about Princess Lyraneth's words. She had said he made the world more beautiful by how he saw it. But from his perspective, she was the one who had shown him new ways to experience beauty through sound, through touch, through the subtle vibrations of life around them. He was beginning to understand that this diplomatic mission might change him in ways he had never imagined. The second day of the wedding celebrations began with the traditional sunrise ceremony. Captain Marcus Chen stood with the other guests on the palace's highest crystal balcony, watching the purple dawn break over Velor. The morning light made the crystal city sparkle like a field of diamonds. "Beautiful, is it not?" came a familiar voice beside him. Marcus turned to see Princess Lyraneth approaching. She moved with careful grace, one hand trailing along the crystal railing to guide her way. Her pale silver eyes reflected the morning light, and Marcus noticed she wore a simple blue dress that complemented her skin tone. "Good morning, Princess," Marcus said warmly. "Yes, it is beautiful. The light makes everything look magical." "I cannot see the light," she said with a gentle smile, "but I can feel the warmth on my skin. I can hear how the crystal sings differently. When the sun touches it, each crystal has its own musical note." Marcus listened carefully, and, to his surprise, he could hear it too. A soft, pleasant humming that seemed to come from the palace walls themselves. "I never would have noticed that without you pointing it out. My people often miss it too," Lyraneth said. "They are so focused on their light patterns that they forget to listen to the world around them." As the other guests began to move toward the day's first ceremony, Marcus offered his arm to the princess. "Would you like to walk together? Could describe what I see, and you could tell me what you hear." "I would like that very much," she replied, taking his arm with graceful dignity. They joined the procession moving through the palace corridors. Marcus described the flowing patterns of light on the walls, the way the crystal formations created natural archways, and how the other guests moved like colorful fish in an aquarium. Lyraneth, in turn, pointed out the subtle changes in the crystal's music, the way different footsteps revealed the mood of their owners, and how the air currents carried messages about the palace's hidden passages. "There is a garden chamber just ahead," she said quietly. "Very few people know about it. The crystals there grow in perfect spirals, and the acoustics are amazing. Would you like to see it?" "Lead the way," Marcus said, curious about these hidden parts of the palace. Lyraneth guided him down a narrow corridor that branched off from the main hall. Marcus was amazed at how confidently she moved through the crystal maze. She never hesitated, never stumbled, and seemed to know exactly where she was going. The garden chamber was breathtaking. Crystal formations grew from floor to ceiling in perfect spirals, just as she had described. Soft light filtered through the translucent walls, creating rainbow patterns everywhere. But what truly amazed Marcus was the sound when he spoke. His voice echoed in harmonious tones, creating natural music. "How did you find this place?" he asked, his voice creating beautiful echoes. "I was exploring as a child," Lyraneth explained. "I got lost and ended up here. I was scared at first, but then I heard how my crying made such interesting sounds that I forgot to be afraid. I started coming here whenever I felt lonely." Marcus felt a pang of sadness. "Do you feel lonely often?" Sometimes, she admitted. "It is hard to make friends when people forget you cannot see their words. But I have learned to find joy in other things, the music of the crystals, the stories the wind tells, the way happiness sounds different from sadness." "You have a gift," Marcus said seriously. "You experience the world in ways that others cannot. That is not a weakness. That is not a weakness. Is a strength." Lyraneth's face lit up with surprise and pleasure. "You really think so?" "I know so," Marcus replied. "In my travels, I have met many people who could see perfectly, but never truly observed anything. You see more than most people who have perfect vision." They spent the morning exploring the hidden passages and chambers that Lyraneth had discovered. Over the years, she showed him a room where the crystals grew in perfect hexagons, creating natural windows that framed the city below. She led him to a chamber where the walls were so thin that they could hear conversations from 3 floors away. Each place had its own story, its own purpose in her secret world. "You know this palace better than anyone," Marcus observed as they walked through a tunnel that connected 2 towers. "I have had many years to explore," she said. "When other children were playing light games that I could not see, I was discovering the palace's secrets." As they emerged from the tunnel, they found themselves in the main ceremonial hall, where the Day of Talents was about to begin. This was a traditional event where guests could demonstrate skills or abilities for the royal family's entertainment. Marcus watched as various aliens performed. Some created complex light patterns that told stories. Others sang in harmonies that made the crystals resonate. A few demonstrated feats of strength or agility that drew applause from the crowd. "Would you like to participate?" King Morden asked, when he noticed Marcus and Lyraneth enter the hall. "I am not sure I have any talents that would interest your people," Marcus replied honestly. "Nonsense," the king said, his patterns showing amusement. "Humans are famous for their creativity. Surely you can think of something." Marcus looked at Lyraneth, who was listening intently to the performances. An idea began to form in his mind. "Actually, Your Majesty, I might have something. But I would need a partner." "A partner?" the king asked, his patterns showing curiosity. "Yes, Princess Lyraneth. Would you be willing to help me with something?" The princess looked surprised. "Me, but I have never performed in front of the court. Trust me," Marcus said gently. "I have an idea that I think will work perfectly." After a moment's hesitation, she nodded. "What did you have in mind?" Marcus led her to the center of the hall. The crowd fell silent, their light patterns dimming as they focused their attention on the unusual pair. "Your Majesty, honored guests," Marcus began, "on my world, we have something called music and dance. Unlike your light language, it uses sound and movement to tell stories and express feelings. Princess Lyraneth and I would like to demonstrate this for you." A murmur ran through the crowd. Marcus could see the doubt in their dimmed light patterns. Many seemed confused about how someone who could not see could possibly dance. "Begin whenever you are ready," King Morden said, though his patterns showed both curiosity and concern. Marcus began to hum a simple melody, a folk song from Earth that told the story of two people meeting and becoming friends. As he hummed, he took Lyraneth's hands and began to move in a simple pattern, guiding her gently through the steps. At first she was uncertain, but as she listened to the melody and felt the rhythm of his movements, she began to understand. Her enhanced hearing picked up the subtle beats and patterns in the music. Her heightened sense of touch allowed her to anticipate his movements and respond to them. Soon, they were moving together in perfect harmony. Marcus would hum a phrase, and Lyraneth would respond with a graceful movement. When she spun, her dress created beautiful flowing patterns. When they moved together, it looked as if they were having a conversation without words. The crowd watched in stunned silence. They had never seen anything like this before. Here was communication that relied not on light, but on sound and movement, and the perfect coordination between two people. As the song reached its climax, Marcus lifted Lyraneth gently, and she spread her arms like wings, trusting him completely to support her. The movement was so graceful and beautiful that several guests made sounds of amazement. When the dance ended, the hall was completely silent for a long moment. Then slowly the applause began. Not the usual light pattern applause of the Velthari, but actual clapping sounds that Lyraneth could hear and appreciate. King Morden's patterns were brighter than Marcus had ever seen them. "Extraordinary," the king said, his voice filled with wonder. "I have never seen my daughter move with such confidence and grace." "She is a natural," Marcus replied, still holding Lyraneth's hand. "She has perfect rhythm and amazing balance." Lyraneth's face was glowing with happiness. "I could feel the music," she said wonderingly. "It was like the crystal songs, but warmer, more alive." "That was beautiful," said a voice from the crowd. Marcus turned to see Prince Zareth approaching with his bride-to-be. "You have shown us a new way to communicate, a way that includes everyone." "Yes," agreed Princess Salmira. "In my world, we have always believed that the best art brings people together. Your music and dance did exactly that." As the ceremony continued, Marcus noticed something remarkable happening. Other guests began approaching Lyraneth, speaking aloud instead of just using light patterns. They asked her about the dance, about human music, about her experiences with sound and movement. For the first time in her life, Princess Lyraneth was at the center of attention for something positive, something that celebrated her unique abilities rather than highlighting her limitations. "You have given her a great gift, King Morden," said quietly to Marcus as they watched his daughter laughing and talking with the other guests. She gave me a gift too, Marcus replied. She showed me how to experience the world in a completely new way. The king's pattern shifted to something Marcus had not seen before, a deep, warm satisfaction mixed with what looked like hope. Me, Captain Chen. What do you think of my daughter? Marcus looked at Lyranith, who was demonstrating some of the dance. The third day of the wedding celebrations began with an unexpected interruption. Captain Marcus Chen was awakened before dawn by urgent knocking on his door. When he opened it, he found a palace guard whose light patterns were flashing and rapid. Agitated sequences. Captain Chen, the guard said aloud, remembering to use his voice. There has been an incident. Princess Lyranith requests your presence immediately. Marcus dressed quickly and followed the guard through the crystal corridors. His heart was racing with worry. What could have happened? Was the princess hurt? He found Lyranith in the medical wing of the palace, sitting beside a bed where a young Velthari child lay unconscious. The princess looked tired and stressed, her usually calm demeanor replaced by obvious concern. Marcus, she said with relief, when she heard his footsteps. Thank goodness you came. What happened? Marcus asked, moving to her side. This is Kyrallen, my cousin's daughter, Lyranith explained. She was playing in the old section of the palace last night when part of the ceiling collapsed. She is badly injured and the healers say she may not wake up. Arcos looked at the small child, her skin pale and showing no light patterns. I am so sorry. Is there anything I can do? Actually, yes, Lyranith said, turning toward him. I think I know what caused the collapse, but I need someone to help me prove it. The healers think it was an accident, but I heard something strange. Last night, what did you hear? Footsteps in the old wing just before the collapse? Someone was there who should not have been. Her voice was serious and determined. I think someone weakened the crystal supports on purpose. Marcus felt a chill. I think someone tried to hurt the child. I think someone was trying to damage. The palace structure and Kyrallen was in the wrong place at the wrong time, Lyranith replied. But I cannot prove it alone. I need someone who can see what I cannot. Show me, Marcus said without hesitation. Lyranith led him through the palace to the old wing where the accident had occurred. The area was blocked off, with guards preventing anyone from entering. When they saw the princess, however, they allowed her and Marcus to pass. The collapsed. The section was a mess of broken crystal and debris. Marcus could see where a large piece of the ceiling had fallen, crushing the furniture below. If little Kyrallen had been standing just a few feet in a different direction, she might have been killed. Look at the support crystals, Lyranith said, pointing toward the ceiling. Can you see any marks or cuts on them? Marcus examined the broken crystal supports carefully. At first, everything looked like normal damage from the collapse. But then he noticed something strange. Several of the crystals had very clean breaks, too clean to be natural. You were right, he said grimly. These crystals were cut, not broken by accident. Someone used a tool to weaken them. I knew it. Lyranith said, her voice filled with anger. Someone is trying to sabotage the wedding celebrations. But why? Marcus asked. Who would want to do such a thing? I have been thinking about that, Lyranith replied. Prince Zareth's marriage will create a new alliance between our world and Princess Selmira's people. Not everyone is happy about this alliance. Marcus understood. Political marriages often created enemies among those who preferred the old ways or had different interests. What do we do now? We need to tell my father, but we also need more proof, Lyranith said. I think I know how to get it. She led him deeper into the old wing, moving through passages that seemed forgotten by time. Her ability to navigate in the dark was even more impressive here, where the crystal formations created a maze of tunnels and chambers. There, she said suddenly, stopping beside a wall that looked identical to all the others. Do you hear that? Marcus listened carefully. At first he heard nothing, but then he caught it, a very faint sound of voices coming from somewhere. Beyond the wall? How did you know? He asked in amazement. The acoustics, she explained quietly. Sound travels through the crystal in predictable patterns. I have mapped most of the palace's sound paths over the years. She pressed her hand. against a particular spot on the wall, and a section of crystal slid aside, revealing a hidden passage. Marcus realized that Princess Lyraneth knew the palace's secrets better than anyone, including the guards who were supposed to protect it. They moved carefully through the passage, following the sound of voices. Soon they could hear the conversation. Clearly, Velor were discussing plans to create more accidents during the wedding celebrations. The ceiling collapse was just the beginning, one voice said. Tomorrow, during the bonding ceremony, we will strike at the support crystals in the main hall. The whole celebration will be chaos, and the alliance will be broken. The second voice added, our world will remain pure, without foreign influence. Marcus and Lyraneth exchanged concerned looks. This was worse than they had thought. The conspirators were planning to attack during the most important ceremony of the wedding. Weak. We need to get back and warn your father, Marcus whispered. But as they turned to leave, disaster struck. A loose crystal under Marcus's foot shifted, making a small but audible sound. The voices in the hidden room immediately stopped. Someone is listening? One of the conspirators hissed. Find them. Marcus grabbed Lyraneth's hand, and they ran through the dark passages as fast as they could. Behind them, they could hear the conspirators giving chase. The princess's knowledge of the palace's hidden ways was their only advantage. This way, she whispered, pulling him down a narrow tunnel that seemed to lead deeper into the palace's foundation. They ran through the crystal maze for what felt like hours, though it was probably only minutes. Lyraneth's ability to navigate in complete darkness was extraordinary, but Marcus could hear their pursuers getting closer. Here, she said suddenly, stopping beside what looked like a solid wall. She pressed her hand against it, and another. Secret passage opened. This leads to the royal chambers. We'll be safe there. They tumbled through the opening just as their pursuers rounded the corner behind them. The passage sealed itself automatically, leaving them in darkness but safe. Are you hurt? Lyraneth asked, her voice filled with concern. I am fine, Marcus replied, though his heart was still racing. But we need to warn your father immediately. They found King Morden in his private study, reviewing plans for the next day's ceremonies. When he saw them arrive, looking disheveled and urgent, his light patterns immediately shifted to alarm. What has happened? Asked. Marcus and Lyraneth quickly explained what they had discovered, the sabotage, the conspirators, and the plan to attack during the bonding ceremony. The king's patterns grew darker and more agitated as he listened. This is serious, King Morden said when they finished. If they attack during the bonding ceremony, many people could be hurt. The entire alliance could be destroyed. Can we do? Marcus asked. We must catch them before they can act, the king replied. But first we need to make sure the ceremony can proceed safely. Lyraneth, you know the palace's hidden ways better than anyone. Can you help us plan a defense? Yes, father, she said without hesitation. But I will need help. Conspirators know someone discovered them. They might change their plans. I will help, Marcus said immediately. We work well together. The king's pattern shifted to something that looked like approval mixed with concern. Very well. But I want you both to be careful. These people have already hurt one child. I will not lose my daughter to their schemes. They spent the rest of the day planning. Lyraneth mapped out all the possible approaches to the main hall, while Marcus helped coordinate with the palace guards. Her unique knowledge of the palace's acoustics and hidden passages made her invaluable for predicting where the conspirators might strike. There are 3 main support points in the ceremonial hall, she explained to the gathered guards. Someone wanted to cause maximum damage, they would target these locations. How do you know so much about the palace's structure? One of the guards asked. I've had many years to explore, Lyraneth replied simply. When you cannot see, you learn to understand buildings in different ways. As evening approached, Marcus found himself amazed by the princess's courage and determination. Discovered the conspiracy, led him through dangerous passages to gather evidence. And now, she was helping to plan the defense of her brother's wedding. Her blindness had not made her weak. It had made her uniquely capable. You are remarkable, he told her during a quiet moment as they reviewed the security plans. I am just doing what needs to be done, she replied, but he could see the pleasure in her expression. No, Marcus said seriously. You're doing what others cannot do. Your father should be proud of you." "He is," came King Mordin's voice from behind them. Neither had heard him approach. "I have always been proud of Lerneth, but today she has shown courage that surpasses even my expectations." The king's patterns were warm and bright as he looked at his daughter. "Tomorrow's ceremony will be dangerous, but thanks to you both, we will be ready." As they prepared for what might be a difficult day ahead, Marcus realized that his feelings for Princess Lyraneth had grown far beyond simple admiration. She was intelligent, brave, and possessed a unique strength that came from overcoming great challenges. More than that, the fourth day of the wedding celebrations dawned with tension filling the Crystal Palace. Captain Marcus Chen stood in the main ceremonial hall, watching as guards took their positions around the room. Today was the day of bonding, the most important ceremony of the entire wedding week, and everyone knew that danger was coming. Princess Lyraneth moved through the hall like a silent guardian, her enhanced hearing allowing her to detect the smallest sounds. She had positioned herself near the main support crystals, listening for any sign of the conspirators they had discovered the day before. "All stations report ready," announced Captain Veltar, the head of palace security. His light patterns were tense, but determined. King Morden entered the hall wearing his most formal robes, his skin patterns glowing with royal authority. Despite the danger, he had insisted that the ceremony must continue. "We will not let fear destroy my son's happiness," he had declared. Prince Zareth and Princess Selmira took their places at the center of the hall. The bonding ceremony was sacred to the Velthari people. It was when two souls promised to share their light for all eternity. The crystal formations in the hall had been specially tuned to amplify and reflect the couple's light patterns, creating a spectacular display. Marcus stood near the back of the hall, his eyes constantly scanning for threats. But every few moments, his gaze would drift to Princess Lyraneth. Over the past few days, his feelings for her had grown stronger than anything he had ever experienced. She was brave, intelligent, and had a way of seeing beauty in the world that inspired him. The ceremony began with ancient songs that made the crystals ring like bells. The sound was beautiful, but Marcus noticed that Lyraneth's expression suddenly became alert. She had heard something that others had missed. She moved quickly, but quietly toward the eastern wall of the hall, her steps confident despite the crowd. Marcus followed, trusting her instincts completely. "There," she whispered when he reached her side. "Behind this wall, someone is working." "With tools?" Marcus listened carefully and caught the faint sound of crystal being cut. The conspirators were making their move just as they had planned. "How long do we have?" he asked quietly. "Not long," Lyraneth replied. "The sound is getting closer to the main support. Need to stop them now," Marcus signaled to the nearest guard. But before help could arrive, a section of the wall suddenly cracked. The conspirators had cut through from the other side and were about to break into the ceremonial hall. Without hesitation, Marcus and Lyraneth moved toward the crack in the wall. As the first conspirator pushed through the opening, Marcus grabbed him while Lyraneth used her knowledge of pressure points to disable the second attacker. Her training in defensive techniques, developed to compensate for her blindness, proved incredibly effective. "Guards here!" Marcus shouted, as more conspirators tried to push through the opening. The hall erupted in controlled chaos as security forces moved to contain the threat. But the conspirators had one more surprise explosives designed to bring. Down the main support crystals, they succeeded, the entire hall would collapse. "The charges," Lyraneth said urgently. "I can hear them counting down. We have maybe 2 minutes." "Where are they?" Marcus asked. 3 locations, she replied, her head tilted as she listened to the electronic sounds. "Northeast corner, southwest support, and directly above us." Marcus realized that even with all the guards, they could not reach all 3 locations in time. Someone had to make a choice about which charges to stop and which to let explode. "I can reach the one above us," Marcus said. "It is the most dangerous." "No," Lyraneth said firmly. "That one is in a crystal formation, I know well. I can reach it faster through the maintenance passages." Before Marcus could protest, she was gone, disappearing through a hidden panel that he had not even noticed. Her knowledge of the palace's secret ways was their only hope. Marcus ran toward the northeast corner, where guards were already working to disarm one of the devices. The southwest charge was being handled by palace security. Everything depended on whether Liraneth could reach the third device in time. Above them, in the crystal formation that formed the hall's ceiling, Princess Liraneth moved through narrow maintenance tunnels with the confidence of someone who knew every inch of the palace. She could hear the countdown device clearly now, 30 seconds remaining. She found the explosive device attached to the main crystal beam. It was complex, designed by someone who understood Velthari crystal technology. But Liraneth had spent years studying the palace's structure. She knew which crystal could be safely disconnected and which ones were critical. With 15 seconds remaining, she made her choice. Instead of trying to disarm the explosive, she carefully separated the crystal beam it was attached to from the main support structure. The device would still explode, but the damage would be contained to a single, non-essential section. Explosion shook the entire hall, but the main structure held. Crystal fragments rained down, but no one was seriously hurt. The ceremony could continue. When Liraneth emerged from the maintenance passages, she found Marcus waiting for her with obvious relief and admiration. "That was incredibly brave," he said, taking her hands in his. "It was the logical solution," she replied, but her cheeks flushed with pleasure at his praise. King Morden approached them, his light patterns blazing with pride and gratitude. "My daughter, you have saved not only this ceremony, but possibly dozens of lives." "We all worked together," Liraneth said modestly. "Yes," the king agreed, looking meaningfully at Marcus. "You and Captain Chen make an excellent team." The ceremony resumed, and Prince Zareth and Princess Selmira completed their bonding ritual. Their combined light patterns created a spectacular display that reflected off every crystal surface in the hall. It was beautiful and moving, a perfect symbol of two different people choosing to share their lives. As the celebrations continued into the evening, King Morden approached Marcus privately. "Captain Chen, may I speak with you?" "Of course, Your Majesty." The king led him to a quiet balcony overlooking the crystal city. The evening light made everything glow with soft colors. "I have been watching you and my daughter these past few days," the king began. "I have seen how you treat her, how you work together, how you bring out strengths in her that even I had not fully recognized." Marcus felt his heart begin to race. "She is an extraordinary person, Your Majesty." "Yes, she is," the king agreed. "But she has lived a lonely life. Few people have ever seen past her blindness to appreciate her true qualities." "Their loss," Marcus said sincerely. King Morden's patterns shifted to something warm and approving. "I believe you mean that. Tell me, Captain, what are your intentions regarding my daughter?" The direct question took Marcus by surprise, but he knew his answer immediately. "I care for her deeply, Your Majesty. More deeply than I have ever cared for anyone. And if you could, would you wish to court her? To seek her hand in marriage?" Marcus felt as if the crystal balcony had suddenly become unsteady beneath his feet. "Your Majesty, I would be honored beyond words, but surely there are complications. I am human. She is Velthari. I am a diplomat from another world. Those are practical concerns," the king said dismissively. "I am asking about your heart." "Then yes," Marcus replied without hesitation. "If she would have me, I would consider myself the luckiest man in the galaxy." King Morden's patterns brightened considerably. "Good. Because I have been hoping for this conversation since the first day you spoke with her." "You have?" "Captain Chen, I have watched my daughter be overlooked and undervalued her entire life. You are the first person who has seen her true worth, who has appreciated her unique gifts rather than seeing only her limitations." The king's voice was filled with emotion. "You make her happy. You make her feel valued. For a father, there is no greater gift." Marcus was speechless. This was more than he had dared to hope for. However, the king continued, "There is one person whose opinion matters more than mine. Have you spoken to Liraneth about your feelings?" "Not yet," Marcus admitted. "I wanted to be sure of my own heart first, and now you are sure, completely." "Then speak to her," King Morden advised. Tonight after the celebrations, I believe you will find her answer, ... favorable. As they returned to the celebration, Marcus felt as if he were walking on air. The king's approval meant everything. But the thought of actually proposing to Princess Lyranith made his hand shake with nervousness. He found her on the dance floor, teaching some of the younger guests the human-style dancing they had demonstrated earlier in the week. Her face was bright with laughter, and she moved with the confidence that had grown stronger each day since. Their first meeting? May I cut in? Marcus asked when the song ended. Always, she replied, taking his hand with a smile that made his heart skip. As they moved together to the music, Marcus realized that this felt like the most natural thing in the world. They fit together perfectly, anticipating each other's movements, communicating without words. Lyranith, he said as the song neared its end, could we talk privately after the celebration? There's something important I need to say to you. Her silver eyes seemed to see straight through to his soul. I would like that very much, she replied softly. The Unexpected Bond, Part 5. The Union of Worlds. The fifth and final day of the wedding celebrations arrived with a sense of completion and new beginnings. The main festivities were over, but Captain Marcus Chen felt as if his real journey was just beginning. Tonight he would speak to Princess Lyranith about his feelings, and his entire future depended on her answer. As the evening approached, Marcus found himself walking through the crystal gardens with the princess. The setting sun made the crystal formations glow with warm colors, and the air was filled with the gentle music of the crystal wind chimes. It has been an amazing week, Lyranith said as they walked along a path lined with glowing crystal flowers. I never expected so much excitement at my brother's wedding. Neither did I, Marcus replied, his heart beating faster as he gathered his courage. Lyranith, there is something I need to tell you. She stopped walking and turned toward him, her silver eyes reflecting the crystal light. I know, she said softly. I can hear it in your voice. You have been different today. Nervous, but happy. Marcus took her hands in his, marveling once again at how she could read emotions that he thought he was hiding. These past few days have changed my life. You have changed my life. You have changed mine too, she replied, her voice gentle, but serious. I came here as a diplomat, expecting to attend a wedding and return to my normal duties. Marcus continued. But instead, I found something I never knew I was looking for. I found you. Uranus's face showed a mixture of hope and uncertainty. Marcus, ... double quotes. I love you, he said simply. I love your courage, your intelligence, your unique way of seeing the world. I love how you turn every challenge into a strength. I love the music you hear in the crystals and the way you navigate by sound and touch. I love everything about you. Tears began to flow down her cheeks. I love you too, she whispered. From the first moment you spoke to me, treated me as an equal, saw me as a whole person, rather than just someone with a disability. Marcus felt as if his heart might burst with joy. Then will you marry me? Will you be my wife? Yes, she said without hesitation. Yes, with all my heart. Marcus lifted her up and spun her around, both of them laughing with pure happiness. When he set her down, they kissed for the first time, a moment that seemed to make the entire crystal garden glow brighter. There is something else, Marcus said when they finally separated. I spoke with your father yesterday. He not only gives us his blessing, but he seemed almost eager for this to happen. Lyranith laughed, a sound like crystal bells in the wind. He has been hoping for this since the first day. He told me he has never seen me so happy as I have been this week, or they have his approval. More than that, she replied. He has been making plans. He wants our wedding to be a celebration of unity between our peoples, a symbol of what can be achieved when different cultures come together. Hand in hand, they walked back toward the palace, where they found King Morden waiting for them in his private chambers. His light patterns were brighter than Marcus had ever seen them. I take it the conversation went well? The king asked, with obvious pleasure. Very well, father, Lyranith replied, her face glowing with happiness. Excellent, King Morden said. Then we have much to discuss. Captain Chen, I assume you will need to contact your superiors about this development. Yes, your majesty, Marcus replied, though I believe they will be pleased. A marriage alliance between our peoples could strengthen diplomatic relations considerably. Indeed, the king agreed. But more than that, I believe your union will show both our peoples new possibilities. Lyranith has already begun developing communication technologies that could benefit humans and Velthari alike. Over the following weeks, as wedding plans were made, Marcus learned more about these innovations. Princess Lyranith had been working for years on devices that could translate between light language and sound, making communication easier for those who, like her, could not see the traditional Velthari patterns. I started developing these because I needed them, she explained, as she showed Marcus her workshop. But I realized they could help many others too, Velthari, who lose their sight, humans who want to learn our language, even other alien species. Marcus was amazed by her inventions. She had created translators that could convert light patterns to sound and back again, allowing seamless communication between different species. She had also developed navigation systems that used sound and vibration, which could be useful in many situations where vision was limited. These innovations could change everything, Marcus said, examining one of her devices. Space exploration, deep-sea research, any situation where normal vision is not possible. That is my hope, Lyranith replied. I want to show people that different ways of experiencing the world can lead to new solutions and better understanding. As news of their engagement spread, reactions were overwhelmingly positive. The Velthari people, who had watched Princess Lyranith bloom during the wedding week, were delighted to see her finding happiness. The human diplomatic corps saw the marriage as a breakthrough in interspecies relations. Wedding ceremony itself became a masterpiece of cultural fusion. Instead of choosing between human and Velthari traditions, Marcus and Lyranith created something entirely new that honored both cultures, while being accessible to everyone. The ceremony took place in the Great Crystal Hall, but modifications were made so that all guests could participate fully. Light patterns were accompanied by musical translations, allowing both species to understand the meaning. Physical rituals were included alongside visual ones, creating a multi-sensory experience. Today we witness not just the union of two people, King Morden announced as he began the ceremony, but the joining of two worlds, two ways of understanding life, two perspectives that together create something stronger than either could be alone. Marcus wore formal human diplomatic dress combined with Velthari crystal ornaments that chimed softly as he moved. Lyraneth's wedding dress was a marvel of crystal fiber technology that glowed with soft light, while producing gentle musical tones with each step. As they exchanged vows, their words were simultaneously translated into light patterns for the Velthari guests and broadcast as sound for everyone to hear. The ceremony became a living symbol of communication across differences. Lee promised to be your eyes when you need to see, Marcus vowed. And I promise to be your ears when you need to truly listen, Lyranith replied. Together we will experience the universe in ways that neither of us could alone, they said in unison. The celebration that followed lasted for days. Musicians from both worlds collaborated to create new forms of music that combined human instruments with Velthari crystal harmonics. Artists developed new visual forms that could be appreciated through multiple senses. Most importantly, the union sparked a cultural exchange that benefited both species. Lyranith's communication technologies were adopted throughout the galaxy, helping many other species communicate more effectively. Human concepts of accessibility and inclusion influenced Velthari society, leading to better support for those with different abilities. 6 months after their wedding, Marcus and Lyranith established the Institute for Interspecies Communication, based on the crystal world but serving the entire galaxy. Their work helped countless beings overcome communication barriers and cultural misunderstandings. You know, Marcus said one evening, as they sat in their crystal garden, listening to the music of the wind through the formations, I came to that wedding thinking I was just doing my diplomatic duty. And instead, you found your life's purpose, Lyranith replied, her hand finding his in the darkness. I found something better, Marcus corrected. I found my partner in that purpose. King Morden often visited them, his happiness evident in the constant brightness of his light patterns. He had gained not just a son-in-law, but a daughter who was finally recognized for her true worth and abilities. "You have given me the greatest gift a father could ask for," he told Marcus during one visit. "You have shown my daughter that she is perfect exactly as she is." "She showed me the same thing," Marcus replied. "That differences are not weaknesses to overcome, but strengths to celebrate." As years passed, their love story became legend throughout the galaxy, not because it was a fairy tale romance, but because it demonstrated something real and important, that understanding and love could bridge any gap, overcome any obstacle, and create new possibilities that neither person could have imagined alone. Their children grew up bilingual in both light and sound, able to communicate with any species they encountered. Their institute helped establish diplomatic relations between dozens of different worlds. Their innovations in accessible communication technology improved life for countless beings throughout the galaxy. But for Marcus and Lyraneth, the greatest achievement was much simpler. They had found in each other a love that saw beyond surface differences to the beauty of the soul beneath. They had proved that when two people truly understand and accept each other, they can create something magnificent that makes the entire universe a little brighter. King Morden's happiness had been justified. His daughter had not just found love, she had found her destiny, and in doing so, she had helped